is views. Rob, well, one applause for Rob.
The man behind the project. If it wasn't for Rob,
Good afternoon. Nice to see you here. We did a lot of research in the past. We also did some research on Willemstad. So first of all, let's read. I wrote an article. The story Willemstad and it was it's about what is happening in the four districts and basically what will be happening for the next 5 years. Those were the aspects we wanted to talk about. So, well, we thought Willemstad was a great place. And also interesting to notice, it's also very important because Hans de Boer and myself are economists. It's also important for the economy. It's also important for government revenue. Sometimes ministers don't realize that investing in Willemstad also generates income revenues for government. It's not only investing in public infrastructure, but also it pays off. In 2017-18, I did, upon request, a study about what will happen in Pietermaaij, what has happened in Pietermaaij. As you can see on the slide, you have the one-time effects, that is the construction, and then you have the effect which will go on year on year after the recurring revenues. So this is only for Peter Mai, and it was some years ago. So you also can see that for the government, it's also a good thing to stimulate investment in Willemstad and in this specific case study in Peter Mai. But when investing, we have already talked about it. It's not only about bricks. It's also about the activities, create ambiente. People have to live, have to walk. There have to be activities. And what we also noticed for the last couple of years, that more activities have been organized in Willemstad. We have seen some, but also small activities are there. And as you know, more restaurants, also more bars came into Willemstad too, because it's not what they say in the morning, Punda is dead, but it's, let's put it different, it's too quiet for what it should be. I will go along with you with the 4 districts. And about the 4 districts, I start with Punda, and there was a study done by the Heren 2, and they made an inventory about the square meters which were vacant on particularly on the 2nd and 3rd floor. And based on that was the idea, well, we can redevelop those empty spaces, the warehouses above the shops, into apartments. And based on that, you could start building, constructing, renovating. Here I showed some pictures of Punda, basically the new developments, but there are also some other things which still need some development. Those are basically the objects which have to be renovated. Sometimes the government should enforce some things to force the owner to invest, renovate his property. What we try to do, before this presentation, I had a lot of conversations with people involved in real estate, in project development, people who know the barrios very well. Because I wanted to know how many was invested in Outserpanda, how much was invested in Punda. Well, I didn't know that it was that difficult, so I added up all the impressions of all the people, and I made more or less my own calculation. Those are, well, I don't want to call it estimates, I want to call it more guesstimates about what has been invested and what will be invested in the near future. And I put it on the sheet, and you can see I made the division in 2 parts. So the part of what happened the last 5 years and what will happen the next 5 years. And it also depends, of course, what's in particular on Punda, what will be happening with the plaza and the Waterford arches. If that will develop, we might envision that for the next 5 years, $100 to $150 million will be invested in Punda only. And then we talk about the more or less the larger projects. We don't talk about the small houses which are getting renovated and those kind of things. We also try to translate it in number of rooms, hotel rooms, apartments, shops, retail, offices. But what we at least noticed that for offices, well, I don't know if Mr. Silvania will get it right, but if he says that perhaps we get a lot of offshore gambling in Punda as an office, but if we don't get that, the office space is not very much in demand, but apartments more, and definitely the tourist Airbnb, small hotels, boutique hotels can be developed in Puna. So we made more or less an idea also based on the square meters available. Next, Pietermaaie. Well, we all know the story about Pietermaaie, developed very well, but it's not over yet. It's there's still a lot of places on Pietermaaie which can be developed. Those are three areas which will be developed. First of all, on top of that is the Vigilante building. There is a project will be starting over there. We had Mr. Laclay, who's the project owner, invited, but he didn't want to show his projects at the moment. But at least he is serious turning that place into a nice hotel. We have the Art Hotel on Bas Filippini, and we also have the Pen Resort. Those are three big developments, and of course we shouldn't forget Mark of Pietermaaie, who's also expanding the cloister. So also in Pietermaaie we expect some huge investments. We also try to translate it in number of hotel rooms, apartments, and those kind of things. In particular, a lot of hotel rooms will be added. Scharloo, we talked about it this morning. Marcel well, gave him his thoughts about what should be done in Scharloo, and it's in fact some part has a lot of potential. Of course, you do have the wharf next door. The point is, what will that be? Given the economic impulse for the surrounding next to the wharf, or won't it? There are a lot of buildings which still have to be renovated. There are also a lot of open places which also can be built. So a lot of potential. The only thing is, will it happen? For instance, you also have this morning, Mr. Cooper talked about the bestuurskantoor. Well, let's notice that it's already empty for an awful lot of years, and we hope that it will be used very soon, because it doesn't only renovate the building, but it also brings back people into town, into Scharloo. And we also have the problem is the bibliotheek. It's also empty. So far, I don't know what the story about that is. So, yeah, the wharf number 2 will be tendered one of these days. That will mean that investment is probably quite serious for the next 5 years. But it's, and I put a question mark on the sheet. Will there be a lot of investment in Pietermaaie? It depends a bit on the Barsjestraat. What will they do with that? Scharloo? Scharloo, the Barsjestraat is Scharloo. Sorry. And also, are there people interested to invest in at this time? It might be interesting to invest, because if things are a bit less, well, less more sure, more risky, often the price is not that high. So it's we're still waiting for some investors who want to buy property over there and to develop. Well, Autobranda was we talked about it this morning. It's quite a success story. Also, because there is a new hospital, because the hospital also gives some substantial economic impact of over there. And of course, the Serie Otrobanda was where this year was Curacaoan was of course a very interesting place for investors. And so as far as I know, there's no property for sale or for rent there anymore because it's that popular. But other places in Otrobanda are still can be developed. The last couple of years, some hotels reopened, refurbished. New hotels were built, and also for the near future, we might expect a substantial investment in Otrobanda. One of the bigger investments, which is still in discussion between the sales and the government, is the project of the sales, which might add up when it's finished in an investment of about 200 million. And you know, if you invest that much in that area, a lot of other buildings over there will also be renovated and get another purpose compared to what they do at the moment. Also, the CPA has plans for developing the Kleine Werf, so that's under the bridge. We expect a lot of hotel rooms over there, also because the Marriott Courtyard is opening, Corendon is opening, and we expect also more smaller boutique hotels over there. So altogether, we expect that a lot will be happening in Willemstad. But some years ago we asked the operators, investors, what are the for you important issues to address, and those were the issues they addressed. They sometimes missed a vision on a plan on Willemstad, and of course they also miss city management. We talked about it this morning, parking, traffic, security, well, and of course enforcement. At that time, some years ago, we did a small survey among entrepreneurs in Willemstad, and well, it was the outcome. And basically, what they told us that the product was up to par, but that the things which were not up to par or could be improved were often related or the responsibility of government. And that brings us to the next slides. We made a SWOT analysis of it. Well, it showed that there's a lot of opportunities. It showed that there the things which can be improved for, in particular, at the agenda of government. And I will finish with my last slide, and that slide is if we add up all the investments which were done in the past, how does it look like for the 4 districts in Curaçao? And if you look in the past, there was about the last 5 years there was more invested than we expected 4 years ago, and we still expect a lot of investment for the next 5 years, somewhere between in guilders 800 and 1,000 or 800 and 1 billion. Which can be invested, which is very substantial. I And this is the really last slide to finish. Well, we expect a lot of investment. So that means that if you want to be in time, it's good to invest now and not wait for another 4 years. Important is also that it's not only investment in bricks, but that we also need activities, that we need people in the city. Governments should do something about urban planning to have a vision, what can be done with the four districts, because all the 4 districts have their own character, and if you have them develop themselves, sometimes I doubt if the character will be maintained. Willemstad, well, that's one thing we started with this morning. It's unique. It's very special. I think it's the most beautiful city in the Caribbean. The only thing is that perhaps we believe it, but we have to convince that is it. And please, as you sit here, you all have some relation with Willemstad as an investor and a facilitator, as a person who wants to set up a project. Well, think about it, because you can be part of the success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rob van den Berg, the engine of Invest in Willemstad, the whole event. Thank you.
Yes, him together with our late Hans de Boer, of course. So 1 billion to go. And the message was clear. Don't wait another 4 to 5 years to step in. Because if we see where we were 4 years ago and where we are now, everyone who did not invest 4 years ago just lost many opportunities. Lost opportunities in otra banda that are not to be found anymore. So the time is now. And what are the possibilities? What is going on in this beautiful city of ours? We have 4 more storytellers who will share their story with us.
They're divided. They're divided in different districts again. For Punda, we have Timothy Block. Applause for him to welcome him on the stage. We have for Otra Banda.
I'll go now?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Rob, for the organization of this event. It's a wonderful event to see so many investors come here to Curaçao to invest in our beautiful island. Thank you, Michelle, for asking me to tell my story to the people here. Let's see. Do I have this clicker? Yes. So most of you will probably think, who is this kid standing here in front of you? Well, I'm born and raised in Curaçao. I'm a new investor, and I am the commercial manager. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And I hope plenty of people from my generation also get involved in these projects, because I truly believe that, this is the future of our island, and I'm sure we can together make a nice place out of it, which it already is. I'm also the commercial manager of the Peña Group. I'm part of the leadership team over there. For those of you who do not know, the Peña building is the big yellow building on the right side. If you haven't noticed it, it's there. We do perfume cosmetics, but also we also do real estate. So basically, I need to go back. I want to get you guys into a story of how it looked like for me to invest in the island. Obviously, I had to check what is the current situation that we are in. And as you all know, Punda is a historic downtown. It's located in the Caribbean where we are. Historically, downtown areas in the Caribbean have been very reliant on retail. Also here in Curaçao, we had that situation, which is not bad, but there are not enough permanent residents or traffic in these cities to create a critical mass throughout the year. And that's where we saw the opportunity. So that's why I say there are plenty of buying opportunities. There are plenty of opportunities in general, because we see this trend. And as Michelle said, you know, in her presentation, I think the time is literally now, because Punda is starting to get into that positive trend. As we can see, a lot of investments already happening. Also around Punda, we see the wharf, we see Pieter Maai flourishing, Otrabanda flourishing. So I think this is the moment, if you want to time the market. You know, I know it's difficult to time the market, but probably this is the best bet that you can have. So what is the vision? You know, the vision of these downtown areas is we need to create residency. If we create residency, the rest will follow. And we've seen it with, you know, the apartments that we are building as the Peña Group. We've built 15 apartments already in the Punda district. And we've seen that, you know, we are experiencing 70% occupancy in these apartments throughout the year. In November and December, I just saw the figures for December during our lunch break. I had a wonderful lunch with a few wonderful individuals to solve all the problems of Curaçao. But we see 90% occupancy in December. So there is a trend throughout the year, but across the year it's 70%. So if we get the residency in, we get more HoReCa. I know a lot of speakers today have mentioned this, so I won't stay too long on this point. But this is a good, it's like a positive vicious circle where you get more residency, you get more HoReCa, you get more people, more investments, more apartments, and so on and so on. And that creates a vibrant experience that fuels itself. So that's the vision. So going to my personal investment journey, I invested in a 4-apartment building in the Herenstraat, that's in Punda, in April 2024. I did it with a combination of equity and debt. I also have a partner who helped me finance the investment. The construction of the apartments finished in October. I have to be honest, they already started constructing the apartments. So if you are going to invest in one of these buildings, you have to think about like a year to build like from scratch. Let's say if you build a building. You have a question? Oh, sorry, no, yeah, it's 2023. Yeah, you're right. Very. Yeah, no, this is no. There are already a few deals being made here, so don't worry about that. Very sharp. I like that. So yeah, the construction of apartments finished this year, October 2023. And we are renting it out as Airbnbs. We are also open for long-term rents. And we are also renting out the ground floor to retail concepts. Just to give you an impression of what we made, we believe in the higher end of the market. We are trying to create luxury apartments. And we use a B&B manager to help us rent out these properties. As you can see, it's like it's a modern feel. It has a French balcony. It's a very nice design. I think the designer was somewhere here. I think she left. But this is this idea that we're going for. The building that we're talking about is the blue one over there in the Herenstraat. But we also own 4 other properties in the district, and in total, as I said, 15 apartments. I don't want to keep you out too long because we're all investors. We want to make money, and time is money. So you know, there are plenty of opportunities. There are plenty of projects, as we have seen. We've seen a lot of speakers talk about new projects that are being run, and I truly believe that the more investors that we get, the faster this whole process will go. Because at the end of the day, we need each other. If we work together, we can create a self-fueling kind of spiral where you know the city will develop even faster. And I truly believe that. And I would say as my final remark, let's work together and find more opportunities together. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. Our next
1 second, Timothy, you mentioned that you're a young investor, you're from this country, and you didn't believe in staying out there abroad, but you believed in investing here. But you didn't quite say why. There are so many other people who are not doing it.
Yeah, so I am indeed from here. I was born here. I'm a Curaçao, and I studied abroad. And during my study, there was a period where you thought, okay, am I going to stay in this country where I'm studying? I studied in the Netherlands, or will I go back to the island where I'm from? And I saw in the Netherlands, yes, a lot of people stay there, but I love the island, and I can see where this island can go. And there's a very favorable climate for investment here. We're outside of the hurricane belt. I'm sure I'm repeating certain speakers, but we're outside of the hurricane belt. There are no natural real disasters happening here. We're under a very favorable law. We are also in the Dutch kingdom, and our tourism is growing, which is also fueling our economy. If we can see all these opportunities, we can even fuel it even more. And that's what I saw, and that's why I came back. So I would say, if there are more people studying abroad, you come back to Curaçao, because there's plenty of opportunities here to invest, also to work, and we can make it a nice place together.
Thank you. Yep. I'm sure I speak for more of us when I say that we are proud of you. Yes.
For our next speaker, we have Arjen van der Meulen. Please welcome him in front of the stage, in front of the audience on the stage.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hold on, Arjen. Before you start, right? We have something to tell.
On the 4th of December, 1997, what happened? Yes. On the 4th of December, just a number of years prior, something else happened as well. A nice baby was born before a few years before, a nice baby was born. So today is birthday, Arya's birthday on Curaçao. Yeah. It's Arya's birthday. And we have our traditions. We will stick to the tradition. So
we will sing 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Give it a bit.
Hurrah!
Happy birthday, Arjen.
So not 26 years, but just a little bit older.
Yeah, just a little bit. Actually, more experience, not age. Okay.
Not age. Okay, Masha pa bien? So we are very happy to have you here with us.
On your birthday.
On your birthday.
So, Curacaoan was that's what I represent in this here today. And actually, I'm seeing this for the first time today. I haven't seen this yet, this presentation. It was just made a couple of minutes ago or a couple hours ago. But so this is how we bought Curacaoan, which actually started as a joke a little bit, in a conversation and after with a couple of drinks. And I said, it was my son's birthday, and of my son's graduation. And I said, you know, it was COVID and we needed to find a place to organize a graduation party. So the only place that was reasonably priced was Curacaoan. So we called up Jeanette and we took, I think, 20, 25 rooms. And while we were there, we were thinking, okay, what's wrong with this place? You know, everything is working, the toilets are working, ACs is working. Why does nobody want to buy it? I had signed the NDA months before, but never had a chance to actually follow up on it. And after visiting that night, I said, hey, you know what? Let's call some friends and let's do this thing. So that's how it happened. Yeah, what did we make from it, right? Our first idea was actually to bang barrio back, right? We thought, okay, Otra Banda was always for living. And so that's a little bit the difference between Punda and Otra Banda. Otra Banda is more built for living, for the streets are different. It's easier to make livable spaces there. So actually, this is the only thing that we changed. We took away the sculpture garden and we made it a plaza so that, as you know, for the people that have been there, this is a plaza now where everybody, is a public plaza where everybody can sit. And, you know, we were talking just now about, you know, the investment and the residencies. Timothy was speaking about that. So you guys do more like Airbnb and stuff, but what we've noticed is especially people wanting to live. We have so many requests for people living in Curacaoan. I mean, if we had 100 more rooms, we could fill it, you know. And the funny thing is we started with creating homes for, you know, so we have Bambario back, that was a concept. Let me go back one step. So we decided, okay, we're gonna do Horeca, we're gonna do hotel, and we're gonna convert all the small hotel rooms to small apartments. But what's been happening is that now we have like at least five older ladies that, you know, all sold their houses, and we ended up putting 2 or 3 apartments together to create somewhere between, I think the smallest one is like 50 to 100 square meters of apartment room, because they have a little bit more money and they're renting it. Yeah, we have some doctors that live there that also at older age want to be able to walk every day. And, you know, they had houses in Blue Bay and then said, yeah, but in Blue Bay it's nice to live, but, you know, you don't have a barrio, right? And that's what we wanted to create. And I think, you know, we tried to put Curacaoan on the back as a barrio. And I think also, you know, that's important. So when you do your investment, don't only focus on, you know, on the Airbnbs and stuff like that to maybe make the quick money there. We chose on purpose to lower our square meter price, you know, to be able to have people living there. Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's nice actually. You know, we have about 20 people living in Curacaoan, or we have about 8 or 9 permanently living, and then we have some that come for like a year or stuff like that. And then, so we don't have short-term rentals. Yeah, we have one building that you know, they come now and they rent it for 3-4 months and stuff like that. But we don't have short-term rentals because we have that in the hotel already that does a week and a day and stuff like that. So I think that combination is also the success of Curacaoan, is that we were able to put back the barrio. So if you're thinking about investing, don't only think in and actually some of the apartments, you know, you guys make them completely ready. We just rented them out, you know, 4 walls and that's it. And you should see what some of these people made of these apartments. They made some really, really nice place because we just rented to them ongemeubileerd. You know, so yeah, you make a little bit less, but, you know, all of them signed at least 5, 10, and some signed it 10 plus 10 years already, you know, because that they want to live there. So that's what we have been seeing in Curacaoan. And Rob, I have a question for you. You said something about invest in Curaçao, and it's a golden opportunity or to invest in Willemstad, right? But one of the questions that we have as investors now is, okay, what's the value of a monument versus the wharf building? You know, what's the economic value and or not even, I mean, value for the future? You know, if I compare my buildings and that have been there for 300 years now, you know, and are protected, you know, through his for the coming hundreds of years, hopefully. So they have, how do I compare that with a brand new building? What's the value? I mean, why should I invest in monuments or in new buildings?
I think you put forward a very correct question, because for economists, it hardly makes any difference if there's economic impact, if the GDP is growing, if there's employment, and if the government revenues are there. But perhaps on the long run, it might be a bit different, because the well, I don't want to say anything negative about the wharf, but the point is that Willemstad is very attractive for people to come to visit, to enjoy, to spend time there. It's also a very attractive place for tourists. They don't come for the wharf buildings, they come for seeing the historical center. So now for investors, it's hardly doesn't make any difference. But for Curaçao and the whole community and for Willemstad, it's definitely make a difference if you invest in old buildings or that you construct a new building.
Okay. There was a discussion that we were having with our, of course, our real estate people. Okay, where was the value, et cetera, et cetera. So, any questions about Curacaochamber? Go ahead.
So, by the way, you've done a beautiful job, and bringing the barrio back means that anybody at any time can access to go into this area. So it's not like it's a private resort and you can't access it anymore. Correct?
That's one of the things that we did. Yes, we opened the doors again. Yeah.
First of all, I think that's great, because there's a lot of places that I've visited on the island that people can get to. Now, yesterday I went to Coral Estates and I said, oh, I'm here to come to the restaurant. And if I wouldn't have said that, they wouldn't have let me in to go drive around and take a look at these beautiful houses, right? So I think that's a great thing that you're doing. The other question that I have is, now that you have the hotel built, are you thinking of adding on more rooms to that hotel?
Depends on the government, yes.
Oh.
There's another building, the domain building, that we would like to get to, and so that will enable us to, because we have two more properties in there that we're waiting to develop together with the domain building, and then make a complete new area there. But also, you know, how do you call it? Not new, but how do you call it? Restore the monuments.
And
We have two more monuments that we have to restore. So,
and the other question that I have is, it doesn't necessarily, if you want to add on to Curacaochamber, does it actually have to be close to Curacaochamber, or could it be, let's say, 2 blocks away, or could it be down the street, or could it be on Breda Straat?
The whole Otra Banda area is on, because one started, and then, you know, first you had the Barrio Hotel that started, you know, then we came, and the whole thing is on fire now. I mean, it's going really fast. So, and then you have the Canadians that bought Centro Democrat, that have big plans, and they're doing more projects on the island. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening. Yeah.
We have more questions.
Well, discussing with you, you not only have apartments for permanent, and you have the boutique hotel, but you also have shops, the people who sell their stuff over there. How was the process getting those people in, and how are they doing? Because it's retail is sometimes it's perhaps not too difficult to establish, but it's difficult to run and make a decent living of it.
So when we came up with the concept, what we wanted with Bambario back, so we said, okay, we need a barber shop, place things like that. So we have an ice cream shop that we really wanted. So actually, like the ice cream shop and the barber shop, we hunted them down. We went to them. We told them we want you to be there. So a couple of the companies and how do you call that? Our renters there is we went to get them. So my partner Lars is has no mercy in that. So he goes and he keeps bothering you until you come. So I have awesome partners, and so some of them we selected. We went to select, and for the others, we had a lot of requests also where we said, okay, this one fits with us and this doesn't fit with us. So like Horeca at this moment we have enough. We're looking maybe for one more or two more concepts, but like the ice cream shop was, we really wanted that. We really wanted the barber shop, we wanted the burger house. We helped them. Those were guys that they started as pop-up shop, and during COVID, they came. We gave them a really good rent. We helped them. We even invested in them when nobody wanted to loan them money. We gave them money to start because we really thought they were important for us. And in the end, they had the largest attraction there and thing. They really helped put Curaçao on the map. So yeah, we helped them out, and their success, and they paid us back. So it's good. We helped each other. But so now and then, you can think about yourself, but you have to look a little bit further and say, hey, if I bring these guys in, this is what we'll do. And these guys were young guys with hardly any business experience or Horeca experience, but my partners are Horeca guys, so they spoke a lot to them to help them to grow, what to do, what not to do, etc. Yeah,
A great success story. In just a short period of time, this was realized.
Yeah. So during the construction, the first day, and I have to still say thank you to Michael Newton for that. I mean, the first day when we started, he introduced me to 3 or 4 contractors, and that's before we started working. And then, the first week I was walking in, and it's a large project, and I'm walking in this street, and I only hear one hammer. So I said, okay, wait, that's not going like this. It's not going to happen. So we call up another contractor and another contractor and another contractor until I did a happy hour, and I had 4 cases of beer, and I realized, oh wait, it's not enough. So we had to get more. At a certain point, we had more than 100 people, construction guys working there constantly. So yeah, that was my thing. Everywhere I was walking, I needed to hear sound of a hammer off of this to make sure that it really pumped. And I was there myself 7 days a week, every day, all day.
And now the sounds that we hear when we walk in Curacaoan village is of people having fun, shopping, eating, enjoying, walking around. Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Mr. Arjen van der Meulen. Thank you. Jeffka.
Yes, the next one to share with us about about the experiences are entrepreneurs from Scharloo. Do we have them here? I don't have any name, but yes, they will not be joining us anymore. Yes.
Oh.
It's no
They will
problem.
not be here today with us. Okay.
That we can continue with Dino Dal, but I would like to check about a possibility, because we still have
A few minutes left.
a few minutes left, and plus at 4 o'clock we will do the unveiling of something nice, and maybe we have someone with us who can tell us a little bit more about that. Let me see if that would work. Yes. We have Juliette Budding, who will already be telling us about what to expect later on.
Thank you, Jefka. This was very prepared. What we're going to do at 4 o'clock is the result of months of hard work in between several partners. One of them being VVRP, Ministry of VVRP, together with Stadsherstel, with Curacaoan Village, and ourselves, Stichting Monumentenzorg. We've been doing the project management for the pilot project to place little signs on the registered monuments in the city with a QR code, which means that if you see a little blue plate with Curaçao heritage on it, you can just scan the QR code and it brings you right to a website with lots of information about the building. The website has already been online for a long time. This is the official monument website, Curacaomonuments.org. If you don't know it already, you should. It has a listing for every single monument on the island, not only in Willemstad, but on the island. And behind the scenes, we've been working on extending the information on this website. So right now in the pilot project, we're launching 75 buildings that are getting QR codes. There's several buildings of the government, which are all around Fort Amsterdam and the Wilhelminaplein. Then in the RIF area, there's a lot of buildings from Stadsherstel and Monumentenzorg that are getting one of the plates. Curacaoan Village is getting, and then also here in Scharloo, Abouw, several buildings will be getting one of the plates. And we've been adding information, some details about the history of the buildings together with the official monument registration. So at 4 o'clock, we'll walk outside and go to the left in front of Villa Maria. We'll have a special guest unveiling the first one.
Thank you so much, Juliette. Don't go yet. Yes.
Don't go yet, Juliette.
Yes. Thank you so much. We know, we can understand how much work is behind all of this, but can you imagine later when we will have all the monuments with their QR code so that everyone, not only tourists, but we also can just scan and get all information. How many monuments will that be?
Well, in downtown Willemstad only is already, there are already 734 registered monuments, and we're putting 75 plates, buildings with plates at the moment. So this is only about 10%. But we are looking forward to talking to other owners of monumental buildings and other groups of owners or districts to see if we can roll it out in other places of the city after this pilot is completed. You're already, yeah.
Curacaoan Village has made its investment already. I asked you to stay a little bit longer because, like she said, Juliette Budding is it works at Monumentenzorg. She is the head of communication there. And last year, the chairman of the Raad van Commissarissen mentioned something that was about to start, and it did start. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, it's our chairman Van der Woude, he announced a year ago, precisely, at the other Invest in Willemstad in Pietermaaij, that Monumentenzorg for the first time in its history was going to start selling buildings on the open market. And it's up to me to give you an update on that. We have, in fact, started placing some of our buildings on our website. To give a little bit of background, the motivation behind it was, on the one hand, to raise funds to keep restoring. And also on that side, we have good news because we've started a very ambitious restoration project in Otrobanda, which you'll see if you go down the bridge on the right side. But we've also started putting some of our buildings on the website because we feel that the market has developed in a sense that it's safe now to start letting go a little bit and letting the market take over again, and with the assurance that these buildings will stay in a great condition. So we have a lot of residential buildings, which there's a lot of interest for and are going very fast. And then we also have some more, larger buildings, which are excellent investment properties, which can also be found on our website as well as the Invest in Willemstad website.
And such a few of the larger buildings are, where can they be found?
Well, if you go back here, Scharlooweg, and you drive out, you'll see a big red building right before the viaduct. That's Aura Winkel. That's most people know it as the old Bermuda building. That's one that we're starting to promote at the moment. And then also, if you know LB Smitplein, there's Villa Washington. This was the old residence of engineer LB Smith, who engineered our floating bridge, among other things. And that's also on the website as the properties for sale. More will follow in the future, so make sure to follow us on the socials and to keep an eye on our website.
Thank you so much. A lot has been said about the monuments. This morning, the minister asked whether the Willemstad should remain on the list of UNESCO or not. Should we keep it as a World Heritage City? There aren't too many of those, and especially not in this area, but it brings about some limitations. We started the conversation, we didn't finish it. We will now go to Mr. Dino Daal, the tourism expert, who will talk about the link between tourism and the historical city of Willemstad. And after his speech, if we still have time, we may start to discuss a little bit about what the
Whether we
minister
should be in the
mentioned.
list or not.
Yes.
So.
But first, with you, Mr. Dino Daal, tourism expert.
Thank you very much. And similar to other presenters, I would like to sincerely thank the organizers of this event for inviting me to share my thoughts on this subject. And I've listened carefully to all of the presentations, the videos, the storytelling. So some of my presentation, I will just go a bit quicker, since part of it has been already covered. However, the point I'd like to make is and I noticed that this probably will be important not only for the government, but in the private sector, but probably also for the investors. So in that context, thank you once again for giving me the opportunity to present. So, yes. Excuse me? The big one? Okay. Yes. So this year we will mark the 26th anniversary of the historic Willemstad UNESCO listing. And throughout most of the presentations, we have seen that it has brought its benefits, whether it is financial, but also economic, but to some extent as well, the cultural, social, and even environmental, which brings us to the sustainable contribution of a UNESCO World Heritage listing. Okay, so in fact, it has what we call a multi-dimensional aspect to it, which we should continue to foster. And I've noticed through most of the presentations given today, either through the sheets or through the pictures, the images that were shown, that we've really stimulated this aspect quite a lot. However, I think we should go to the elevate this level in a way. Mr. Rob van der Berg quoted some of the data and figures of his study, in which he sort of emphasized on the economic importance, and he gave some, as he called it, guesstimates. Some of these figures are a bit outdated, but he gave some guesstimates as far as from now to the years ahead. What I am now advocating is that the Curaçao government form a committee consisting of, amongst others, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Economic Development, the Ministry of Urban Planning, but also Ministry of Finance, and perhaps the Curaçao Tourist Board, and more importantly, the University of Curaçao. Because I think it's important for us to know what is the value of UNESCO World Heritage to our city. So not only economically, although I admire the job Mr. van der Berg has put by quantifying it, as he said it, through his guesstimates, but I think it's about time now, and particularly when I see the amount of investments that have been made, but also that in the future will be made. And we are talking, at a certain moment, Mr. van der Berg mentioned the mark of 1 billion. Okay, so I think it's about time for us as a community, and me being at the university part-time, you would understand that I would promote this idea of quantifying what UNESCO has meant for the city of Willemstad. And again, not only economically, but from a sustainable point of view. And I have some thoughts in terms of some of the elements I think are important in that respect. Before that, the regenerative strategy is a concept that is more and more being discussed in various platforms. So I think we should also put some attention to aspects of the regeneration strategy. And in the elements that I'm going to mention, I'm going to also give examples of how we can give attention to a regenerative strategy. So one of them would be to emphasize community involvement in the preservation of cultural and natural assets. I've seen here and there some ideas, but I think Kaya Kaya, I perceive, is a perfect example of that. But also what some experts are touting is that maybe the city of Willemstad may shift from a commercial to a recreation and entertainment city center, which is something that we should evaluate, we should assess if that is going to be the case. I noticed that in some cases, Mr. Dennert, but also Rob mentioned some of the buildings that still are dilapidated. And the issue of funds has been, let's say, as one of the main subjects. But again, when I see the presentation of Mr. Blijleven, I have some hope that still there is a possibility to finance some of these dilapidated buildings and make them new. So in terms of the economic impact, it's important for the government to know in terms of the impact of GDP, government revenues, and social insurance contribution. Because in addition to the economic impact, the impact it has given on employment as well, in terms of full-time equivalents, has been equally documented by Mr. Rob van der Berg. I think from the future, it will only become more. And if I notice the several projects that have been brought forward, and in particular, the one of Mr. van der Meulen and Curacaoan, I see that there continues to be all kinds of possibilities for the employment opportunity to be there. So in terms of the impact on employment for restoration and development projects, some of you have already detailed that, but there continues to be opportunities for creative and innovative ideas in tourism. For instance, I've been informed that it is interesting to note that there is a visible increase in walking tour guides passing through the streets of Willemstad, as well as alternative touring companies that use electrical scooters, bikes, segways, buggies, and all of them to explore the city. So perhaps the working group that I alluded to before can also try to quantify that, because all of that means that it gives employment, whether it is full-time or part-time, but it still offers opportunities for local entrepreneurs, because as I see this list, most of them appears to be also local. And then there are other, as I said, creative and innovative ideas like bed and bike. Okay, something that was told to me by an expert, and that apparently in Holland is very famous. Okay, so we can spur some of the local entrepreneurs as well to come up with these other types of ideas. There is also another one, slow walking tour, as part of the experiential tourism or transformative tourism trend that is already appearing or actually existent in our community. From the tourist board, a couple of years ago, I was coordinating through a Canadian expert to stimulate through a workshop more projects that engage or immerse the tourists in a particular attraction. Because in some of these attractions, it's just a matter of the guide coming and telling us a story and not engaging the visitors as part of the experience of that particular attraction. So with these creative and innovative ideas in tourism, you'll even stimulate some of the locals to visit. For instance, at this point in time, at the university, through the assistance of the students, we are doing a research amongst about 5 museums, because these were known to be very passive in stimulating visits to museum. And you have this with other attractions as well. And then the other one is infrastructure investment. I guess I don't have to go into too much detail about this aspect, because we've seen quite a lot of infrastructure investment that have been done throughout the years through the various images that were shown. However, the point of future need for coastal fortification due to rising sea levels needs to be paid attention. And with the climate change, this is becoming more and more evident and necessary. So at a certain moment, at the point of discussion I was having with one or more of these experts, one might ask the following question. How was this determined? Has this started rolling because of UNESCO status, or because the government and some of the investors, like some of them that are in the building right now, have put their shoulders, their concrete investments, to the wheel for development of the inner city as a protected city scope? So maybe through the documentation of the value of UNESCO, if we quantify this aspect, we get more information on how we can respond to this question. So again, this idea of quantifying the value to have these departments work on it. And then another one was the real estate and property values. Again, it has spurred very positive effect on the UNESCO status as far as the property values is concerned. And also we've seen redevelopment potential for Plaza area and Punda. And don't even talk about the impact of Kaya Kaya, as amongst others, Ms. Budding referred to, but also some of the other speakers highlighted quite clearly, up to some point that one of the experts told me that people were willing to bid significantly more than the asking price for some of these building to own a monumental building, monumental home, sorry, in the World Heritage City. So I am using sustainable tourism elements. And by the way, I'm going to also add to it 3 what I call more contemporary elements. So private funding would be one. We've seen that there is a cooperation between governments, entities, and private foundations, and that there is a private-public synergy for infrastructure upgrades. However, it might be worthwhile to consider to have the future investments be more in the hands of the private sector because of the dire situation, excuse me, of the government. And the government should evaluate to bringing the land by means of the leasehold or sale, okay? And the private investors, I mean, they are very businesslike. They look at their bottom line, their return on investment, as was mentioned a moment ago. So I think it should remain in their hands. And as I was talking to some of the experts, they said that that is already happening and that will continue to happen. Okay. And then what I call the heritage-related businesses. This has also, as a result of this UNESCO World Heritage listing, it has also spurred the growth and development of business related to the heritage side. So for example, at this moment, we have 7 museums in the downtown area. And I think I may have heard that there's probably one more coming. But in addition to that, you have guided tours, souvenir shops, and other enterprises that have emerged or expanded due to the UNESCO and designation. So it would be something to consider to have this element also be quantified, exactly what has been happening due to the UNESCO World Heritage listing. And then the cultural preservation and the creative industries. Again, the influence of the UNESCO status on the cultural and creative industries has proven itself. One of them, again, is the Kaya Kaya in Otra Banda. You could say the explosion of arts and creative industry has really reached a milestone which is further open for more growth in that respect. So we could use this as a way of inspiring more nonprofit entities and entrepreneurs in the cultural and creative industry, and also to continue to develop, as I heard, an increasingly events, activities, and products. But also in addition to that, and I saw the one in Punda emphasizing that they want to continue adding more what they call events, festivals, and other activities of this nature. So again, in that respect as well, one aspect that would help in the quantification of the UNESCO status is to get also an idea what direction you should go in terms of coming up with innovative and other creative either festivals or other type of products. And then in terms of a regenerative strategy for local practices, I think along with the Ministry of Education, Culture and Science, they should support more local cultural practices, traditional arts like it's already happening in Otrabanda, and crafts, but also to establish programs to safeguard intangible cultural heritage such as oral tradition and rituals. And I think apart from Otrabanda, Peter Mai and Scharloo lend themselves perfect for this type of creative industry, cultural and creative industry. And then the element of education and research opportunity. The university already has been doing research on the inner city for decades, which have resulted in several publications, and you may also go on their website to see them. But they also offered a course in a yearly course in education on heritage, which I think Mr. Michael Newton has also been involved with that. And in addition to that, the tourist board, if you go on their site, you'll notice that their research that they're doing on an annual basis, which is called Insight, there you get detailed information, not only on the economic impact, but also something which is upcoming, which is the experience that these tourists have, and also what they call net promoter score that they give to the attractions in Curaçao. And some of these promoter scores are pretty high. We're talking about varying anywhere between 70 to 90%. And not only from one source market, but varying source markets. So that is something also that we can use as a source to quantify how the UNESCO World Heritage listing has been solid for the education and research opportunity, and what it could bring for the future. And then we have the one that is also, I'm very interested in it, is that what they call community involvement, but also engagement, education, and well-being. So I've noticed in some of these cases with the investors, a certain sense of pride and identity. Now we should stimulate this more and more amongst the local residents, because particularly in the times of Carnival, when traditionally this population likes to discuss on every little bit of detail of Carnival, one of them would be the buildings that are a bit the dilapidated status, that a lot of discussions center on, ruining these dilapidated buildings and to clean them up and store them away. I think there should be, by quantifying the status, we should be able to restore some of these buildings in their former glory. Okay, so that's something for us to think about, because as they say, Maiten is waiting. So it's important for us to be able to do that. The next one is the monitoring and evaluation. I'm not sure if it exists, but if not, we should establish a continuing monitoring and evaluation framework to regularly assess the ongoing sustainable development impact of UNESCO World Heritage status. So it's not only collecting data, but also analyzing them over time to see how we can identify trends and then incorporate them here on Curaçao so as to stimulate more and diverse visitors to the island. Okay. And then I would like to go into three more what I call contemporary elements. One of them is the regenerative design principles. I've been told by at least one of these experts that some of these are being applied. However, In some cases, you also find some investors or potential investors that come up with designs that could jeopardize the very status of the UNESCO World Heritage status. And there are sufficient examples that could illustrate that. So that is something that we should pay attention to, but also to continue to integrate green infrastructure, such as parks and green spaces, into urban spaces to enhance what they call aesthetic and ecological value, okay, of the surroundings, okay. And furthermore, we should maintain the thinking that preserving and restoring existing buildings is an essential component of these examples that have been mentioned. So the guidelines on materials and buildings methods should be used for new construction in the city that could be helpful in this respect. The next aspect, which I call more the contemporary element, is to also quantify in terms of the climate change adaptation. So to come up with strategies and interventions to mitigate the impact of climate change on heritage sites, considering particularly the rising sea levels. And at certain times, I hear these discussions taking place in certain meetings, but also in the public space. But I'm not sure if we are doing something with it. It might be that we should be paying more attention to this aspect. But also, what we have been experiencing is particularly this year, increased temperatures, extreme weather events to protect the coastline, okay? And then the third one, the last one, digital documentation and technology. I know that in some cases there are some entities using digital technology for documentation and virtual tours to make the heritage sites accessible to a broader audience, like what is going to happen this afternoon, like Mrs. Budding explained. So it is something that we should continue doing, and perhaps more important than that, and we have our parliament member here, to stimulate locals to make use of these technologies. During my time at the tourist board, I've noticed that very few people, for instance, not only visit these buildings, but also they don't go to museums. But it might be partially also the fault of the museums themselves, because of the type of promotion that they offer in terms of experiential tourism. So this is something that I would also like to be part of the elements to do the quantification of the impact of UNESCO World Heritage. And of course, I realize that this should be a collaboration. It cannot be only that the public sector, by means of the ministries that I've mentioned, but perhaps the private sector, perhaps through funding, can help, and the university can help fund this initiative, because the end result will be beneficial to all of us. So it's not only for the government in terms of the economic employment act and some of the other aspects, but also to the private sector, so they have an idea of what it means, but also for the future. We can use this as a weapon, or a weapon, I don't know if that's a good word, but anyways, as a promotional tour, a promotional vehicle to go acquire or to seek for more investors in some of these buildings. So by integrating some of these strategies, Curaçao can develop a holistic and regenerative approach to UNESCO World Heritage preservation, ensuring that it's, and this is important, the cultural, social, and natural assets thrive for future generations. And again, preservation should not lead to a conclusion that Willemstad becomes a museum. Rather, it should help in the preservation by means of development, particularly sustainable development. So in closing, I would like to thank the experts that I consulted, amongst them Ms. Caroline Manuel, Mr. Marcel Dennert, and Mr. Jonathan Yukama, but as well Rob van den Berg, because of the studies that they made available. And I would like to, I'm looking forward if by the end of this conference, there might be a proposition to see to what extent we can do this study, and then for the next conference, announce the results of this study, and so that we are constructively continuing with this UNESCO World Heritage listing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dahl. I think that with this extensive presentation, we have the answer to the question that the minister posted this morning, and that is maintenance rate. Excuse me, would you like to? Yes, well, we have a question from the audience.
Dino, I would like to ask you, do you know how much this study might cost us? And do we have already explore who can conduct this for us?
Well, perhaps we can use the study that Rob van der Berg used as an initial guideline. But however, this one will include more elements, but that we could use as an initial element to make a, as you call, a guesstimate, how much this would cost us. And in terms of who can do the study, perhaps amongst the ministries, we can prepare a terms of reference and then invite certain consultants, because I know there are some of them in the area of UNESCO World Heritage listing, to help us execute this study.
The reason why I'm saying this morning, after the comments we received from the minister, we went and we were discussing this, and there is one foundation in Curaçao which is actually specialized or should put funding for research like this, which has to do with logistics, and this has to do with logistics. And maybe we can prepare all this and discuss with the board of SLS, which have funding for this kind of reports and research that are truly needed. Because I think this topic has become very, very important after this morning, and even after what we have heard in the question of Aryan of UNESCO, yes or no, and also of what you have shown there, that still we think that UNESCO might be important for our destination. So it's very urgent to start doing this right away. And I would suggest to contact SLS for funding.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you based on the discussions held this morning and the many questions put forward. I think it's about time. And by the way, not only that, but the experts that I consulted, and I mentioned 3 names, all of them agreed wholeheartedly that it's about time to undertake this study, so that we don't have the questions that, amongst others, the minister put forward, but also amongst the general public as well. Some of them have asked me some of these questions, so I can follow up perhaps. And by the way, we can also look at Puerto Rico, because they also have, and see if they did a study, a similar study, to see what are the expenses involved in that respect. Oh, okay. Okay, I will follow on that. Thank you. Questions?
I don't have any more questions. Yes?
Does UNESCO actually add funding to Curaçao different projects and different things, or does it go the other way around? Does Curaçao pay something to UNESCO to be on their list, or does?
I think UNESCO does fund some studies. I think it's more in the area of awareness and information. I've tried to contact Mrs. Marva Brown, who is the UNESCO World Heritage representative in Curaçao, and I've heard that in the past they've had some of these projects funded, not projects of this nature that I'm proposing. So that is something that, as Jeanette brought forward, we might have to go to the Logistics Foundation.
Right. And I just want to make a comment that it's nice to be part of a bigger club, because when you are added to something that another place doesn't have, well, it's nice to say, hey, by the way, Curaçao is a World Heritage place as well. But I also think that if Curaçao could find a way that we can grow within whatever the guidelines and the rules are, which maybe aren't clear. That's maybe what the problem is. People just don't understand what it is. I think that could help a lot of developers and investors understand what you can and what you can't do, or what you should and what you shouldn't do in a place like Punda.
Unquestionably, not only that, but we can, even through this study, determine what the minister said. Should we continue to focus on UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, or should we have this other theme that he brought forward as a historic city or something like that?
Yes,
So-
just historic, just historic.
And you saw one of the elements that I put in there. So by doing this study, you will probably have at least some indication to where we should go. Should we maintain it in the way it is, or should we go in another direction? Excuse me? That might be something, yeah. And I think we should try to do it with the local experts and have a consultant carry it out. I know for another study that we intend to do, which is the carrying capacity study, we are also going to seek consultants to do the study in Curaçao through the coordination of some local experts. So I think it's doable. Okay.
Oh, 1 second, Art.
Whatever we choose, I mean, I think all these buildings and however you may call it, I think they're part of our ID of who we are.
Our heritage.
Yeah, our heritage of
Yes.
who we are.
Yes.
I mean, it's half of the music and everything comes from Otrabanda and Punda and everything.
Yes.
So yeah.
Absolutely, and it's a nice being able to know exactly what it means, not only again, but financially, economically, but also in terms of the other elements. Okay. Thank you.
And I think that I see someone who would like to add something. Is that correct? Yes, and I was about to ask you because please come, please. She, of course, is the expert, the highest expert in this regard from the government, because it's her work. She knows everything about Curaçao being on this list and what this entails. So I would like for her to share a little bit about this topic with us.
Thank you. Well, I don't know everything. I learn every day. What they should or what they should not do. It's government itself. Government puts its rules, and based on that rules, and of course the outstanding universal value, that government goes to UNESCO and asks UNESCO, can I be a World Heritage Site or not? And if you comply with your own regulations and you are on the list, you stay on the list. If you as government fail with your own regulations, then of course UNESCO will say, government, you want to stay on the list or you want to get off the list. It's all up to you. It's not UNESCO telling any government what to do. It's the government itself. So we went through a procedure of putting our laws and regulations in place, and I was going to tell this tomorrow. And based on that, the dossier was accepted by UNESCO World Heritage. And if we want to continue staying on that list, we just have to apply and stick to our own regulations. That's the fact about UNESCO. And UNESCO World Heritage is based on a convention. That means that state parties sign or agree with the convention. In this case, it's the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So the Kingdom of the Netherlands pays UNESCO and we just go with the flow. Yeah.
That is the clarification I wanted to hear. So Caroline, she knows about this stuff because this is her job. And still, yes, of course.
actually, what Caroline brought forward only adds to the necessity of having this study, because then we can decide based on hard data what to do, not on emotions. Because this community, unfortunately, takes a lot of decisions based on emotions. So based on hard data, we can tell UNESCO, you know something, while it is interesting and we have set out our laws, we think it's about time to move further or to elevate or to do whatever. Okay? Thank you.
We have a question in the back. It's, excuse me. Yeah. Press the button. The light.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. So my name is Marco Chase. Thank you, Mr. Dino Dahl, for your presentation. This question is for you. I agree that we need to do a study and investigate exactly what the value is. But part of this study, I think, needs to be, what have we done in the last 26 years to exploit the fact that we are on the UNESCO list?
Yes, and that question I cannot respond to it, but it's something of valid that you say. Perhaps Ms. Caroline can explore a little bit on that, but also the other experts. But part of the study would then also go into the historical facts of the previous years and then see what it has contributed to our community. So yes, I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked this is because it would be difficult to say if it's of value or not if we ourselves have not done much with it and just to be on that list. So that's the way I feel, and I would like to have that quantified, if possible. What we have done in order to really use this and exploit the fact that we have a unique selling point of being on the UNESCO World Heritage List.
Yeah, the good thing is that we have some local experts, and I did mention them, that could have enough information in that respect, and that should be indeed part of the study. What has the Curaçao itself done in that respect?
Thank you.
I would like to add one extra point. We should also compare to other countries in what respect they used or exploited their presence on the list. Just a comparison to see what we could have done maybe that we haven't, because that's a possibility as well. Bottom line is that the question, the most important question to the valid question of the most important response to the valid question of the minister is exactly what Mr. Dahl said, Dr. Dahl, that we need to get data on this topic. We cannot continue talking about it without knowing what we are talking about. Is there any value? And if it is, what exactly is it, in which regard? So later on, we will be able to tell the minister that that might be the way to go about it. Yes.
Maybe that's a solution. Okay. It's past 3:30, and at 4 o'clock we have to go to the unveiling.
Yes.
At the neighbors. So, but we have just one guest speaker again. That's Mr. Farley Laclay.
No,
Virginia, sorry. Farley, Virginia.
I don't see Farley.
Oh,
yes,
there he is.
There
Okay,
he is.
yes.
Farley will said that he is willing to tell us a little bit about one big construction mid Willemstad, which is the wharf. With you, Mr. Virginia.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Farley Virginia, not Farley Laclay. Anyway, no problem. I didn't know that I had to say something about the project, but anyway, I'm standing here in front of you as one of the developers of the project, The Wharf, We have been involved as Heren too in different developments in the city, in the inner city, like Plaza project. We're doing projects in Pietermai. We're doing project in Otrabanda, but also the wharf is one of the projects we started in 2015 with the idea to do something and not stand at the side and criticize everything about development, everything about the government, but do something ourselves. So we came together with 3 other parties. One of them is APC, pension fund, who also is involved in a lot of other developments. And as local parties, we started a journey. I can say it's a journey. It's not an easy journey to develop here on the islands, but we are finishing the journey right now. We didn't do this alone, of course. We did it together with a lot of other parties. One of the important parties, the government. Caroline is one of the experts who also was part of the whole preparation of the project, but also CPA, the Ports Authority, a very important part in this project. One of the most important things we wanted to do is to give back life to Scharloo. And of course, again, not alone, because Stichting Monumentenzorg, Stadsstel have been doing that for a much longer time than we have done. So we started with the idea to give back a part of the city to the public. Because one of the most important things about the project is it's going to be open up for the public. In the plinth, in the ground floor, we're going to have commercial area, but also the whole way we're going to be open up so people, the public, tourists, etc., can visit the whole area. One other thing, very important of the project, is we wanted to give, let me say, a quality type of standard way of living that we don't have on the island. We have it in Miami, we have it around the world, but we wanted to have a very nice type of living. What you have there is not only an apartment, you're gonna have a pool area, you're gonna have a gym, you're gonna have also a lounge area, and that's gonna be private for the ones buying an apartment within the wharf project. We're finishing right now. We have started to deliver and complete a lot of the apartments. We're finishing here in December. A challenge is still the infrastructure, but we are also trying to finish it up in December and open the whole project for the public, I believe, in January. There are still units available, so if you have any interest, you can call our broker Sotheby's. But it has, like I said before, been a challenge to develop here, but we did it with a passion for architecture and urban planning, and especially a big heart for Curaçao. So hopefully more of investors, but also other parties will join us in creating more of these projects. What you see happening now in Scharloo, a lot of developments, and hopefully the other parts of the inner city, like Punda, for instance, will also go along with the development. So I think before me, Dino said it, data is very important, of course, but let's not wait and keep moving on and make the city great to be in. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you especially because you were not on the program, but you agreed to still tell us a little bit about this big project. I cannot let you go just like that without asking you something that has been a question in the community. How come such a modern development close to a historic city?
Good question. We get a question every day, I think. What we try to do is not to imitate any type of architecture. If you also look at Anderskade, you see different type of, let me say, architecture during the different ages within where those buildings were developed. You see the, for instance, with a customs building. That's also a very modern building in that time. And it had a lot of criticism at that time. So what we try to do is make something modern, but also still, some wouldn't believe it, but still with respect towards what's behind. So what we try to do, maybe you can see it, you see the 3 towers. If you are at the other side, at the Otterbana side, but also in a ship, you will look through the towers and see the monuments. You will see this building, which burned down at some time also, but it was rebuilt. What you see, for instance, the storage building here, that's a monument. A lot of people don't know that, but that's a monument. You can see it from those sides. We could have built, let me say, a wall like Handelskade. We didn't do that. What we also try to do is go from a bigger scale, the towers, towards a lower scale. And you see it also in the 4 city apartments, like we call that. That's a colored building that we try to have a relation with Scharloo. One other thing that we did is we tried to respect the highest building of the Handelskade. We measured it in something like 23 meters, 67. But anyway, we tried to stay below that in respect to the Handelskade. One other thing I think it's very important, I'm an architect and urban designer also. What we try to do is not imitate, but to try also to take into account the skill that you've been building in. If you look right now, I can say from my experience, I think we could have go a little higher. But anyway, we try to also look at the scale of St. Annabij. And I think if you look at this moment when we took away the scaffolds, a lot of people said, oh, this is not a mass that I imagined would be over there. So I think for some people it would need some time. Some people wouldn't like it anyway, within 5 years, 10 years. But I think a lot of people now see, and maybe within 5 years, they see it differently and understand what we try to do here.
Excuse me, we have 2 questions from the audience.
I just made a comment. I said in 100 years it can be part of UNESCO.
Well, in the past, that's the way Handelskade started as well.
Out of curiosity, it's nice, but the balconies, why the color white?
I will ask the architect. No. The architect, we had a lot of, you can't imagine that, how many discussions we had with the architect. So for this project, I'm not the architect, but I try to discuss a lot of things with the architect. And if you know the architect, you know why we discuss it for a long time. But sometimes we say, at some moment I said, the color, those are yours, but we want the color because initially the whole building, the whole complex was white. Maybe Caroline can imagine or remember that, but that made it very massive. So we said, no, you have to work with colors. So this is, but a white, yeah. The white, yeah. That's from the architect, yeah. Yes.
Are there any more questions? There's a question in the back. Is that one question or are those 2? I see Mr. Kais. Yes.
Thank you, Farley. Hello? Yeah. Thanks, Farley. Beautiful project. You mentioned that there were some challenges during the construction or pre-construction phase. Without going into too many details, could you give us some of the challenges so that we can learn from you in terms of development in an inner city?
Good question, but I'm not gonna give you the details. But no, I think in order to develop, it's not only here, we develop also in the Netherlands.